Hey kids, what time is it? No, it's not howdy doody time. It's almost as exciting though. It's time for your club officers, club executives to start thinking about their replacements. I know it's the beginning of the year, but May will be here before we know it. Some of you, I'm sure, are shrinking in your seats, thinking, don't pick me, maybe even turning off your cameras. If you feel that way, I'd like you to reconsider. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I think you should become a club officer. Reason number 1. We all agreed to be club officers when we became Toastmasters. You didn't remember doing that? It's on the back of the application that we all signed, part of the Toastmasters promise. It reads, as a member of Toastmasters International and my club, I promise to take on club leadership when called upon by my club. Your clubs are calling you. Reason number 2. New officers every year bring in new ideas and excitement to the club. When the same 7 officers simply rotate their roles year after year after year, you end up with tired, worn out, maybe even apathetic officers. When that happens, meetings and clubs become stale. Stale clubs go off the rails, and no one wants that to happen to their club. New officers, new ideas, new excitement prevent that from happening. And reason number 3, it's good for you. As a club officer, you will learn so much, skills you can translate to your everyday life. Whether you're a blue collar, white collar, no collar, retired member, the skills you learn as a club officer are transferable. For those of us who work, whether we're garbage collectors, CEOs, or anything in between, we can translate those leadership skills directly to our jobs. For those of us who are retired, think of it as learning a new skill, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, keeping your brains sharp. The older we get, the more important that is. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, this all sounds great, DJ, but I've just been a Toastmaster for a short amount of time. I'm too new. Or perhaps you're thinking, way too busy, DJ. That's not going to happen. Or, I've been around the block a bunch of times. I'm just too old for this. I understand. For those of you who say you're too new, April 15th, 2015, I became a Toastmaster when I joined Dirigo Leaders. May 1st, 2015, I became an officer. I had no idea what I had just agreed to. But reason number 1, I was called upon by my club. So I agreed, went to officer training, networked, learned how to do my role. But more importantly, because I stepped up as a brand new Toastmaster, another brand new Toastmaster stepped into an officer role. Then someone who had been a Toastmaster for years but never an officer stepped into an officer role. Suddenly we had 3 new ideas and more excitement coming into the club. The result, that year, Dirigo Toastmasters, for the first time in 10 years, became President's Distinguished Club. Not because of me, but because we had fresh ideas and excitement building in the club. For those of you who say you're too busy, I say when you want to get something done, you ask a busy person, because busy people know how to prioritize. Granted, family and work always comes before Toastmasters, but if you make Toastmasters a priority, you can prioritize the 3. I understand busy. I work full-time. I just took on a new role. When I go on site, it's an hour each way. Once a week, I take my mother to Bangor. It's an hour each way. I belong to 5 clubs, 3 of which I'm an officer in, and not the same officer role. No, why would I make it easy on myself? I'm also area director this year, which means I'm responsible for 4 other clubs. Full disclosure, I belong to 2 of them, but there's still 4 clubs in my area. I go to all their meetings. Not required. But we're on Zoom. Why not? My point is, even with my 3 club officer roles and my area director roles, I don't spend 10 hours a week in Toastmasters over and above my meeting times. Therefore, if you belong to one club and decide to become an officer in that club and find yourself spending 10 hours, we need to talk and prioritize a few things. For those of you who think, I'm just too old. Last year, Kennebec Valley Toastmasters president was 87 years old. She didn't need to hone any leadership skills. She became president because, reason number 1, she was called upon by her club. But also, she wanted to gain confidence, push herself out of her comfort zone. Under her leadership last year, in the age of COVID, when everyone was online, Kennebec Valley Toastmasters was one of only 2 clubs in all of Division B to attain any kind of club status. Kennebec Valley and Bangor were presidents distinguished. While other clubs were using COVID as an excuse, these 2 clubs thrived. It doesn't matter how old you are, how new you are, or how busy you are. You can do an officer role because you're called upon by your club. It brings excitement and gives your existing officers a much needed break, and you will learn a lot. So kids, what time is it? It's time for you, all of you, especially if you've never been a club officer, to take on that officer role. Your club, your existing officers, and you will be glad you did.